Are the Chicago Bears for real? That is the question of the day here on Bears Now by Chat Sports. I'm Harrison Graham. If you think they are, type Y for yes. If you don't, type in for no. We're going to explore both sides of the coin here, why they have ingredients to think they're for real, and why maybe there's reason for hesitation to wonder how real they actually are. We'll do that next. Contenders or pretenders, for real or not? That's what we're diving into here on Chicago Bears Now. The Bears are 7-3. They're in first place in the NFC North. They're currently the number 3 seed in the NFC. But there seems to be a big debate, especially nationally, about how valid that record and their current standing in the NFC is. So let's explore both sides of the coin, because I think it's a fair question to ask. Why there is reasons to believe the Bears are for real? Well, number one, you have a legitimate running game. And the running game is something that typically can travel in the playoffs regardless of weather conditions. That's something you can lean on, and that is something that Ben Johnson will lean on. He wants to run the football, and he's got two backs that are running the ball effectively. He's got an offensive line that's probably been a little bit more effective in run blocking than pass blocking, especially in recent weeks. Despite a struggle the first month running the football, especially with your running backs, the Bears are second in the NFL in rushing yards per game at just under 150, only behind the Buffalo Bills. So this is a real thing. Like, with a 4-game struggle to start the year, you're still second in the NFL in rushing, which means since then you've been the best rushing attack in the NFL. You got two good backs. You have a quarterback that gives you some juice on the run, on the ground as well. Both runners, Swift and Monangai, are averaging 4.7 yards per carry. They bring you different styles, a little thunder and lightning. Even DeAndre Swift, I think he's answered the bell some with some physicality, especially as of late as well. Obviously, his ability in open space is really, really good. And Kyle Monangai has brought an attitude and a thump to this backfield as well. And obviously, Caleb, timely scrambles, occasional designed run. He can obviously produce on the ground also. I think in addition to that, you have an offensive line that's really gelled, especially as a run-blocking unit. You know, Theo Benedict has his limitations, but he's pretty good out in space. You get him out on those toss cracks, he can really move and get downfield and block. He's a solid run blocker. The rest of this group, really good across the board, but especially in the run game. You know, Drew Dahlman, Jonah Jackson, really good run blockers. Darnell Wright is really good as a run blocker as well. And what I said earlier, I think holds true. I think the run game travels in the playoffs. It's kind of like they always say defense travels. Like, I think a solid running game really works anywhere because weather doesn't really matter. If anything, you want nasty weather to lean on that. This offensive line is built to have success against most fronts. So I think you can feel good about that if the Bears get into the playoffs as something Ben Johnson can lean on, especially, you know, if Caleb Williams is having some struggles early in a game or something like that. Speaking of Caleb Williams, you have a weather-proof quarterback. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is there are certain quarterbacks in this league that, regardless of the elements, they're not going to have physical limitations, right? Caleb Williams is very durable. Caleb Williams has a big arm. Caleb Williams has played in elements this year. I thought one of his best games was against the Giants. Super windy, snow flurries, no issues with throwing with velocity and making all the throws he needs to. He's hard to bring down. I think that's even tougher when it's slick, these tough surfaces, you know, if it's rain, snow, whatever. Like, his physical traits translate into any weather conditions. Obviously, you play indoors, no problem. You play outdoors, it's cold and windy, no problem. You look at a guy like Tua, Brock Purdy, Jared Goff even, like, their level of play dips because they're not as good at gripping and throwing the football with the velocity needed in those conditions. So Caleb Williams, this isn't a I would rather have him than every other quarterback in the league situation. This is a, regardless of the weather elements, you're not going to win or lose based on Caleb's play because of bad weather. He may not play well, but it won't necessarily be because of the weather conditions. He has the physical traits that, regardless of the elements, you feel comfortable, which is a good thing to have because not all even franchise quarterbacks have that. Brock Purdy's a really good player. If it's cold and snowy or rainy or windy, there's limitations there. That's just the reality. Caleb has no physical limitations, so that's valuable when you get into January. Okay, number 3. You have a defense that creates turnovers. Does this team give up yards? Does this team give up points? Yes. They also lead the NFL in takeaways. You get into a playoff game, even as an underdog, you get 2 or 3 takeaways, that could win you the game. That could win you the game. The Bears lead the NFL with 22 takeaways, and it's more than trend at this point. Most games are getting multiple takeaways, and that's been a big reason why they've been winning these games, because they take the ball away and they don't give it away. The Bears do not turn the football over either. So that combination is a really, really good one to have. You have the top 3 interception leaders in the NFL. You know, Devin Lloyd also has 4 interceptions, but Kevin Byard's got 5. Nashawn Wright and Tremaine Edmonds have 4. 13 picks among those 3 players. Other guys have chipped in as well. When you can take the ball away in the postseason, like these games, it comes down to a handful of plays. And if you're winning the turnover battle, that goes a long way into pulling off these wins. And I just want to give a shout out to Dennis Allen and to these players in the back 7, especially because to get this many interceptions without a consistent pass rush is really impressive. I mean, you do not have a consistent pass rush with your front 4. Now, some of these have been a result of dialing up pressure. You know, it's not like you're never winning one-on-ones, but I would say all things equal, this is a below-average pass rush, and you lead the NFL in takeaways and in interceptions, I believe. That's pretty impressive. So if they can tighten up just the kind of play-to-play defense, yards allowed, points allowed, all that stuff, and with reinforcements coming back, you're hoping that's the case, Stevens could be pretty damn good and could be one that translates into the postseason. Subscribe to the channel if you want free and daily Bears content all year long. Doesn't matter if we're in the season, in the off season. We're bringing you videos every single day. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. We got you guys covered. The offense generates explosives. There are some inconsistencies. Caleb misses some throws. We understand all that. But when you're number 1 in the NFL in explosive plays and you don't turn the football over, that is a very, very good formula for success. Like a lot of times, like a good example, and I'm not picking on Baker and the Bucs. They've had an awesome offense over the years, but last year, ton of explosives. Baker also threw a lot of picks, though, right? He had like 15 picks, I think. Typically the higher explosive teams also turn the ball over at a higher rate. The Bears do not. They have the second fewest turnovers with 6. Caleb's thrown 4 picks, and they fumbled twice. That's a really good model for success if you generate explosive plays and do not turn the football over. Like that formula really, like, again, that's why if they just tighten up some of these inconsistencies, like the offense is already really good. It could be special if they tighten up some of the things, the self-inflicted wounds, which we'll talk about on the negative side of things coming up here in a little bit. And then lastly, look, this is a clutch team. They've proven it time and time again. Playoffs are a different deal. Not saying they're never going to lose a close game, but if you're going to make a push, if you're going to win some of these games on the stretch, if you're going to get into the playoffs and win a game or two, you're probably going to have to clutch up. Because, again, these games come down to handful of plays, final 2 minutes, and the Bears in those situations have been really clutch. Caleb Williams' 5-game winning drives, obviously the last one, didn't really have to do much. It's not his fault. It's just the reality of the situation. But they've clutched up in different ways. They blocked the field goal. Caleb's led a couple of legitimate game-winning drives. They get the kickoff return. Like, it's someone different every week, and I think that's a big ingredient of this as well. Good teams win in different ways. They've won a shootout in Cincinnati. They've won a slugfest against Minnesota. They've come from behind against Washington. Like, they've done different things to win these games, and that just builds confidence. That builds belief. That belief, that trust, that confidence is there. The players believe in the coaches, and the coaches believe in the players. They talk about it all the time. And talk is cheap. They've done it. Since week 1, they have not lost a one-score game. They've been really, really clutch. Now, a couple of those shouldn't have come down to a one-score game, but hey, if you get in that situation, you feel confident that the Bears are going to find a way, and they've proven time and time again that they can do just that. All right, on the flip side of the coin, there are legitimate reasons to question how real are the Bears. And, there's levels of this, right? There's a spectrum. Are they a Super Bowl contender? Probably not, but are they a legitimate playoff contender? I would say yes. How legit are they? Are they frauds? That's up for you guys to debate, but we will take a look at the other side of the coin coming up here in just a second. But first, we've got to tell you guys about our awesome sponsor. That is Prize Picks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with Prize Picks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups. when you play your first $5. PrizePicks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Caleb Williams' pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? Now you can. Only in the same lineup, only on PrizePicks. PrizePicks also offers injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks won't count it as a loss. They are looking to support you. All right, I already got a little early week lineup cooked up for this upcoming weekend. I took more on DeAndre Swift's rushing yards. Again, as you get later into the season, I think Ben Johnson's going to continue to lean on the running game, and I like what Swift has shown, 58.5. I like the more there. I also took more on DK Metcalf's receiving yards. He's really their only consistent big-time weapon on Pittsburgh's offense. $20 lineup to win $60. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it is good to be right. Okay, reasons to have some doubts, whether you do or other people do. Number one, you have 0 wins against teams above 500. Now, you also haven't played many teams above 500. Detroit technically is the only one currently who is above 500. That's not the Bears' fault, but it's a talking point out there, and it's a fair thing to break down. Your wins are as follows. Against Dallas, who's 3-5-1. We are filming this live on Monday, so obviously them and the Raiders play, so that record could be slightly tweaked by the time we publish this video, so don't freak out on that. Washington, who's 3-8. They were 3-2 when you played them. Not the Bears' fault. They've collapsed. Saints 2-8. Bengals 3-7. Giants 2-9. Minnesota 4-6. Combined record 19-50-1. Well, you're beating teams you're supposed to beat. That's kind of my reaction to that. And then your losses are against 3 better teams. You split with Minnesota, obviously. You got punked in Detroit, but I think when you play them at home outdoors, you'll have a better chance. And then Baltimore, who's clearly picked things up, 5-5 now, 15-15 combined record. Look, there's probably some validity, like, they haven't played anybody. I think not playing anybody is kind of a loose term. The NFL is the NFL. It's not college football. This isn't a Mountain West schedule. I mean, you can lose to anybody on any given Sunday. You can't control your schedule, but if you're going to put those talking points to rest, you got to win some of these games down the stretch, right? And in reality, you got to win some of these games down the stretch to A, make the playoffs, and B, kind of build those calluses like, okay, we can beat playoff caliber teams once we get into the postseason if the Bears get there. Obviously, Steelers this week. Bears and Steelers, 2 teams currently in the playoff picture. At Philadelphia on Black Friday, that would be a big statement if you can get that one. You go to Green Bay in Week 14, obviously a big opportunity. The Browns at home, I'm telling you, that reeks a little trappy game. Little Myles Garrett, he's been pretty damn good this year, but hopefully you handle business there. Packers at home in Week 16, at San Francisco and Detroit. So other than Cleveland, all these other teams, like, they're big opportunities to show, hey, we can beat high-caliber teams. Again, you can't control the schedule, but the schedule's about to ramp up, so we're about to find out how good the Bears are. All right, number 2. I think this is a significant one. You lack a pass rush, and I mean from your front 4. Yes, Dennis Allen has dialed up some pressure, but you're just not consistently winning one-on-ones with your front 4. Montez Sweat's played better recently, but he's not a dominant player. He's flashing, but he's not great. He's good, not great. Javon Dexter, again, like, good player, not special. CJ Gardner-Johnson joined the team 3 weeks ago. He's 3rd on the team in sacks. Fun guy to blitz, but, that's a problem. Dominique Robinson, who's been out for weeks, is 4th on the team with 1.5, and then you have 7 other guys who have 1 sack, including Tano Passanio, who hasn't been on this team in a month and a half. Again, Dennis Allen, I think, has done a nice job of dialing up pressure. I think he'll continue to do that, especially when you get more guys back in the back end. That, kind of reduces the risk if you have guys you trust in coverage, but the D-line's just limited. Grady Jarrett has flashed some a little bit recently. That's nice to see. We talked about Sweat and Dexter, but, Austin Booker, I think, again, that word flash, I've seen some positive signs, but you're just not going to have a guy that takes over games consistently. That's something this team, big picture, has got to find. All right, number 3. Every week this team has a lot of self-inflicted wounds. And look, every single game, you're never going to play a perfect game. Rarely are you going to have a game where you have 0 or, 1 or 2 penalties. Rarely are you going to have a game where you never drop a ball. But they have multiple drops every game, untimely penalties every game. We talked about the next step. They haven't, just had that killer mentality, like Minnesota's on the ropes. We score one more touchdown here, they're done. Haven't been able to do it, right? So there's been a lot of self-infliction in a lot of these games. Now, the flip side of that is they've overcome that. They have found ways to win. So they've learned how to win, but they have not kind of played a clean game, right? Other than Dallas, maybe in week 3, and even the Cowboys had a couple turnovers in the red zone. If they were able to score there, that game's probably a little more dicey. The Bears have yet to play a 60-minute game where you're like, man, that was mostly pretty damn clean. And so the fact that you're 7-3 in spite of that is impressive. But again, with the schedule ramping up, you're going to have to tighten that up to realistically to win some of these games. So, I think at some point we're 10 games in, it's like they're probably not going to be a clean, perfect product this year, but can they be cleaner? I think the answer is yes. The penalties have come down. That's a good thing. These other things need to come down as well. All right, number 4. Caleb is still inconsistent. He is. I think the Bears I saw are top 5 in drops now, so that has not helped the completion percentage. We've talked about how the explosives make up for some of the inaccuracies, and I think that's fair. On a diagnosis, he doesn't turn the ball over much. That's a positive as well. Like I said, he generates big plays as well, so that's a good combination. But he is still inconsistent. He just misses some throws. Missed a couple deep shots early in the last game. He'll randomly miss like some underneath throws here and there. I think there's been improvements there, but he's still a bit of a work in progress just from an accuracy standpoint. Now, I like what I've seen in the play action game. Get him under center, throw those balls over the middle of the field. The middle of the field passing game, I think, is in a really good spot right now. But there's just misses, and there's misses that, this time next year you're hoping don't happen, right? But I don't think all of a sudden we get to week 16, 17, 18, he's going to be a 75% guy. Can you be in the more like 63 to 65% guy the rest of the way? Certainly possible. If they catch a few more balls, that would go a long way. But it's still inconsistent. It's better, but it's inconsistent still. Okay. What did I put here? Most of your core lacks playoff experience. Now, you have 3 guys who've played in a lot of high-level games. Joe Thuney's won 4 Super Bowls. That's a big reason why I loved that pickup at the time. Number 1, he's instantly your best offensive lineman, and 2, he brings a lot of credibility and winning to that locker room and to that position group. He's been an awesome addition. Grady Jarrett's played in a Super Bowl, played in a lot of playoff games, emotional leader. Yes, he's overpaid, but I think he brings value in those areas. If the Bears do get into a playoff situation, he can be kind of someone you lean on from an emotional standpoint. And then Kevin Byard played in a lot of playoff games in Tennessee, played in one with Philadelphia as well. He's seen a lot in this league. So you do have a few guys, but not many. I mean, Caleb Williams never played in a playoff game. Rome Odunze, even DJ Moore. I don't think he's ever played in a playoff game. He's been in the NFL like 7 years. Cole Kmet played in one his rookie year when the Bears were in 8-18. Like a lot of your key guys, even guys who have been here, Jalen Johnson, one game his rookie year, like they have not played in playoff games. So, a lot of time you see these teams have these breakout years and then they flop in the playoffs, right? Because they're just not ready for the moment. Matt Ryan's a good example. They had a lot of good teams and he kept losing. And he finally broke through. They got to the Super Bowl. So it's hard. It's hard to, make the playoffs that first time and go on a legitimate run that first time. Justin Herbert still hasn't won a playoff game. So it's nice to have a few of those veterans, but a majority of your core has not played in the playoffs, and that matters. It's a different heart rate when you're playing in the postseason when knowing if you lose, it could be the last game of the year. So there you go, kind of reasons the Bears are real, reasons they're not. I think there's arguments on both sides. I'll ask you again, are the Bears for real? Type Y for yes. Type in for no. Curious what Bears fans think currently. I'll tell you this, you beat Pittsburgh and Philadelphia the next 2 weeks. I think that totem's going to be pointing in the for real direction even more. I do think there's real ingredients that translate, which I pointed out. I do think there's, valid reasons to question how real the Bears are. They're not a complete fake team. Like, this is a real team that has a chance to make the playoffs. How real are they? That's what we're going to find out. All right, appreciate everybody for tuning in to Chicago Bears Now. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We are here every single day with daily content. We go live every Monday, Thursday, and game day as well. So join us for those situations, and we'll see you soon. Bear down.